Well, ominous stage 13 indeed, but we've been asking a lot of questions about this young Frenchman, Pascal Linault, and he's still there, remember, after 10 stages, still wearing the yellow jersey after those two former champions, Stephen Roach and Pedro Delgado, put up such a grand fight yesterday. Let's update you on the leaderboard as it stands before we go into stage 13. Pascal Linault in the lead. He has 1 minute 27 on Miguel Indurain still, but the big winner yesterday was Stephen Roach. He's 1 minute 58 from the lead. Pedro Delgado was another big winner. Remember, he gained 3 minutes yesterday, 4 minutes 8, and Greg LeMond has been squeezed into 5th place, 4 minutes 27, and it was after that quintet that comes Claudio Chiappucci and Perini, and this is how the Aussies looked after the 12th stage as we came up to Saint-Gervais into the mountains. Well, Phil Liggett joins me now as we look ahead to yet another mountain stage, Phil. And we're sort of midway through the mountain stages now, more than halfway through the race. You must have some reflections now on the overall picture that this Tour de France will leave with you.
When the Tour was about to start, everybody said Miguel Indurain would walk away with the race. And when he won the first prologue time trial in Spain, we thought, well, we're going to have a very boring Tour. Nothing could have been further from the truth. This Tour is still on schedule to be the fastest ever. Remember, it's the 79th Tour de France. It's on a record course. There'll be a tremendous battle in the next 2 days in the mountains, and these riders will crack and the gaps will open up. It's only a question of knowing whether Linault can now survive.
Okay, we've been waiting for the big attack to come on Linault. We're halfway through the mountain stages. There's this one today and another one tomorrow, another awesome one tomorrow. And I gather you expect that he will be attacked during those 2 stages, because on the flatter stages he's been doing his business, hasn't he?
He's marshalled it, and his RMO French team have looked after him very well. But they're a man down today because yesterday Charlie Motte, the team captain, retired sick. Now he has fewer riders to bring back these attacks, so he'll have to answer the attacks himself. The big climb in the middle, the Col Iseran, I think will give us our select group that will head off into Italy. Nobody in this Tour de France has ever climbed the Col Iseran because the race hasn't included this climb on its itinerary since 1964. So they're going into the unknown.
Okay, Phil, another entertaining day ahead of us. Enjoy it today.
Yeah, thanks, Les.
Thanks to Phil Liggett. Let's remind you of the course today. We're going from Saint-Gervais to a little part of Italy that we visit on this tour, to Sestriere, a ski resort, a beautiful spot, 254.5 kilometers the course. There are 4 Category 1 climbs on this one, including the awesome Col de Iseran, 2,770 meters high. So, as I said, another entertaining day ahead of us. Let's enjoy it with our commentator, Phil Liggett.
And now let's have a look at the rollout this morning at 8:45. Back at the start town of Saint-Gervais, warm sunshine greeting the 165 starters today. The sad news, I have to tell you, is that Edwig van Hooijdonk, the Belgian rider, has withdrawn from the race this morning owing to the death of his father, and he has returned home to Belgium. The destiny with the Alps is now with the riders, and on the Col de Saisies, it was that man, Claudio Chiappucci, straight onto the attack on this second category climb, going over the top ahead of Richard Veronk and Thierry Claverola. And by the time they arrived on the 1,968 meters ascent of the Col de Roseland, Chiappucci had forced a group of 10 riders into the lead. Claverola was second here, and Capistani. Sean Yates went over the top of this climb in 11th place, just 1 minute off the leaders, and soon after that he joined the leading group. But sad to tell you that Inaki Gaston in this leading group crashed and has gone to hospital with serious facial injuries. There we are now, approaching the top of the Col de Iseran. It has proved to be a show day for the Italian Claudio Chiappucci as he races now towards the Italian frontier. And the chase behind contains, and this is something of a surprise, a great show of defiance by the yellow jersey of the Tour de France, Pascal Linault. He didn't wait to be attacked by Miguel Indurain. He chose to attack himself.
Actually, another little anecdote before Chiappucci gets over the top. I was talking to Stephen Roach yesterday about the tactics of Delgado, and Delgado didn't work. I said, well, Stephen, you could find yourself in the same situation if Claudio Chiappucci attacks. You'll be able to sit on. He said, the problem with Chiappucci is he never attacks alone. Well, I think maybe Chiappucci must have heard that as he goes over the top to take maximum points. He must have heard exactly what Stephen Roach had said and thought, I'll just show you today, Stephen.
You can just about see the riders coming through this magnificent crowd on the Col de Iseran. Almost 30 years since the Tour de France came over this climb, and one or two riders hopes it'll be about the same time again before it comes over once again.
I'm sure one or two will think that, because this really is an incredible climb, climbing up to 2,700 meters. That's nearly 8,000 feet. It's a very long climb here. Conti making a little bit of a move here, going forward to try and get some points for the King of the Mountain competition. Lino suffering a little bit there, dropping further back, but that won't be too much of a problem. He'll go over the top and be very quickly back together with these other two riders.
So the peloton, the select group, go over the top, 3 minutes and 44 seconds behind the leader on the road, Claudio Chiappucci. The man missing from this group is Greg LeMond, as the riders will continue to climb this mountain, believe me, for the next 30 or 40 minutes. But the leaders are over the top and speeding now towards their next big rendezvous. And coming through the cloud line now is Greg LeMond. Dropped on the early part of this climb. He has suffered today, more so I would suggest, than he suffered in the Pyrenees a year ago. So we are indeed around about 17 or 18 minutes behind here. And the lonely figure of Claudio Chiappucci now coming towards the top of the giant Col du Mont Cenis. And he's still holding off the might of the Tour de France today. And the big guns have started to fire on this climb, because Gianni Bugno and Miguel Indurain are now clear of the field and trying to eat in to the 4 minutes and 34 seconds this man had at the start of the climb. They've reduced it by only a few seconds as he comes up towards the summit. So Chiappucci, all that lies in front of him now is one more climb to come. And he'll have been riding 7 hours when he gets to the end of the stage today. There we are, the two chasers, and it is Bugno setting the pace now, the man who attacked, but they have been showing the pace up the climb.
Well, I think Indurain has quieted one or two of his critics today. A lot of people were worried about the fact that he wouldn't get over the mountains here, because he's never really climbed to 2,700 meters before, nearly 8,000 feet, and he is a big rider. He's over 6 foot tall and weighs something around about 78, 79 kilos, and that's very, very heavy for a climber, but he's definitely got over them quite well today.
Well, Bugno has gone over the top in second place. With him, Miguel Indurain. 3 minutes 30 is the gap. So since they started the reaction in this move, they have taken back just on 1 minute of the lead of Chiappucci. And with there's a long way to go. We're now at 180 kilometers here. We're now seeing the arrival of the yellow jersey group, so he is still... No, this is Andy Hampson. He slipped away about 3 kilometers from the summit. Hampson goes through with Coccioli there, and they've gone through at 4 minutes, just about 4 minutes over the top. This is Robert Miller setting the pace with Laurent Fignon here too. Almost 5 minutes now since Claudio Chiappucci passed over the top of the Col de Mont Cenis. So they are the little group that's just behind the yellow jersey group of Pascal Lino. He is out of contention for the yellow jersey right now. That should swing across to the shoulders of Miguel Indurain tonight, but it will all go down to the last climb, the climb to Sestriere. And in fact, here he is. Here comes the Pascal Lino now. Robert Miller's group has passed him and gone ahead. He's falling further back all the time. 5 minutes, 23 seconds. Pascal Lino has gone over the top. That puts him more than 2 minutes behind Miguel Indurain. As he heads now towards the last climb today in the Alps, Miguel Indurain is the leader on the road.
Charlotte, you're watching the Tour de France on SBS television. Bye-bye.
One of the Coca-Cola girls a short distance ahead of the riders, part of a spectacle you don't see on the coverage of the Tour. That spectacle is the sponsor's caravan, where the financial backers of the Tour try to get their money's worth in the same way that you see billboards at a football stadium. Only these billboards have to move along each day at roughly 50 kilometers an hour. Here's Greg Walker.
Thank you, Les. The publicity caravan you can now see weaving its way up the hill is one of the main reasons why the Tour de France has become more than just another cycling race. It takes 1,000 people to put this circus on the road, and it travels all 3,800 kilometres that the cyclists do on exactly the same route. The caravan concept started in 1930 with only a handful of advertisers taking part. This year there are more than 100, and although all of them pay huge amounts of money to be seen on the Tour de France, they still consider themselves privileged. From profiteroles to cleaning detergent, everything is larger than life. The children en route behave like it's Christmas as the caravan passes by. Some walk away with up to 5 show bags. But it's not just the kids who get knocked over by all the excitement. Of course, it's the men who race in the Tour de France who are the main attraction. But the publicity caravan makes the wait very entertaining.
And those sponsors in the caravan have put in something like $20 million towards the race sponsorship this year. No wonder they went through all that to get their money's worth. Just behind the caravan were, of course, the riders. Let's see how they were doing as we take you back now to Phil Liggett.
So there's 4 very solid riders chasing behind, and for a long while it looked as though they were going to catch Chiappucci, because at the bottom of the climb, here they are, at the bottom of the climb, Chiappucci was only 1 minute 45 seconds ahead. The latest time check, you've got it there, Paul.
Well, the latest time check is 2 minutes and 20 seconds. It went down to 1:45, but as they got to the climb, Chiappucci's gap has gone up again. And I think the only explanation is because Iseran now is starting to be a little bit worried about Bugno, who hasn't been contributing to the pacemaking at all. Fignon is chasing behind. He's trying to come back up, which is why Bugno will not work. He was with Eric Brooking, who you've just seen being dropped there, and this is Laurent Fignon, but he's some 3 minutes behind the 4 men in front there.
Now, we haven't seen too much of the brave Pascal Lino today, but he is in a group, a fairly large group, and he is round about 5.5 minutes off Chiappucci. So, as we look at these pictures now, the man who will claim the yellow jersey tonight is the defending champion, number 1, Miguel Indurain, to the right of our picture here. He knows it now, but the way Chiappucci is beginning to pick up time again, well, Chiappucci too is going to go right up the overall classification tonight. One of the great old men of the Tours de France, Laurent Fignon here, twice a winner of the Tour in 83 and 84, now trying to contact these 4 riders. And I think Paul Sherwin is right. That is why Gianni Bugno, but look at the gap opening here. Bugno is being forced to react. But he is reacting very slowly, Paul, so maybe he isn't waiting for Fignon. He's actually being left here by that move.
He's not reacting at all. In fact, the thing is, he really is quite tired, which is why he's not been contributing. He's talking to his team manager for the last 15, 20 kilometers, asking them what the situation is, where is Laurent Fignon, but the man at the front who's made that acceleration is Franco Vona. Hamston can't follow now. Indurain responds straight away to go into Vona's wheel, and I think very soon Indurain will see what the situation is, and he's going to start to put the hammer down, because he's been very worried about Gianni Bugno, and it looks as if he's really dropping his arms now. As we go past the sign for the start, the sign of Sestriere, he's coming into the actual outlines of the town, but there's still 4.5 kilometers before he actually gets to the finish line at the top here where we are, and he really is fighting all the time. He's holding on, but it's coming down slowly but surely. Those riders are going to have him in their sights in the last final kilometers.
Well, the shouts down his ears. The riders have often told me they don't, in fact, hear the crowd around them when they shout at them. It's concentrating so hard at this stage. And look at this now. Vona's in trouble. Vona has been dropped now by Miguel Indurain. The champion-elect of the Tour de France is turning on the style. We are just inside the town boundaries of Sestriere, but as Paul Sherwin has said, we're still a little way from the finishing line, and Vona has now been dispatched back down the mountain. And now it's Indurain and Spain versus Chiappucci and Italy in what is turning out to be a dramatic pursuit on the climb of Sestriere today.
Well, as he moves away here, if I can see the sign of Sestriere again, I've got the watch going to find out what the chances are for Claudio Chiappucci in the front there. It's coming down all the time, and this really is, there it is. It's 1 minute and 10 seconds, so it's going to be very close on the line. Indurain making an incredible performance here, and I'm sure he wouldn't have even thought about attacking today if it hadn't been for Gianni Bugno starting it all off, and now he's decided everybody's a little bit tired, so I'm really going to get rid of them.
Well, had we been anywhere but Italy today, I am sure Chiappucci would not have survived these last 2 kilometers, because the rider is dead on the bike here. He's totally exhausted, which is hardly surprising in the heat of the day here in the Alps. But now the crowd are ready to welcome an Italian, the leader of the King of the Mountains at that. And I think after today's escapade, nobody will touch him in the mountains all of the way to Paris. The question still remains whether he can win this tour, but the feeling will be he can't, because Miguel Indurain has reacted so well to the attacks today, and in the end has been beaten by only one man in the top of the mountain here at Sestriere in Italy.
Indurain really has been a master of the tactics today. He really watched every move. He never panicked. At one time there was an attack by the yellow jersey. He just let it go and then controlled it. And now when he got to the final climb, he waited, and when he saw that Gianni Bugno was suffering, he went away and got rid of him, and he put a big distance, I think, by the end of this evening between himself and the rest of his challengers. But one man we'll always remember from today is Claudio Chiappucci, and I think the Italian crowds will go home tonight very, very happy.
Well, just look at this now. I don't know where they're finding the energy from to run so far behind Chiappucci up this steep climb, but this is what the crowd have waited for now. The waters part as Chiappucci heads towards the final kilometre banner. That's what he's been dreaming of for the best part of 5 hours today. And even the race referees are now in the way, because the crowd cannot get back far enough. And look at this. I've never seen this ever in a Tour de France. We've seen the crowds come close on Alpe d'Huez, but never this before now, as they welcome the Italians to the summit.
They've gone totally wild, the Italians. This is what is known, I think, as invading the pitch. He got slowed down a little bit there by 10 or 15 seconds, but he's got away again. I don't think there's going to be any problem behind. Here's Miguel Indurain. He's not going to catch him, but what a fantastic finale for Claudio Chiappucci. I think it must be like running across Wembley Stadium.
Well, this is a tremendous end to the stage of the Tour de France. It's goodbye to all of the foreign countries who have welcomed this great race this year. And they've welcomed it with open arms in Europe, with literally thousands and thousands and thousands of spectators. And on this very last day in Europe in general, the country has got themselves a home winner. And indeed, the great Claudio Chiappucci has not let the side down with an escapade in the Alps we'll talk about for years to come. I don't know whether Chiappucci will hear anything in his ears now. He's probably riding in a trance. He'll be so exhausted. But he's in the last 500 meters of the stage today, a stage of 254 kilometers. Chiappucci comes under the kite. I wouldn't be surprised now if the gap has actually gone out even more than 1 minute. And Indurain must be surprised himself by the crowds as he's come up towards the last kilometre. Now Chiappucci's on the closed section of the road where the crowds are safely locked behind those barriers. Now all that's left is the long, empty straight. If only we could know how he is feeling now, but I would think that the goose pimples on his arms are as high as the Alps as he comes to the finish. You may be able to hear the roars of the crowd. They know that Chiappucci is in sight of them. Look at this.
And he really has gone over the top as he gets into the last 200 or 300 meters. What a fantastic ride by this little man. He's savouring it now. His body won't hurt anymore now that he's got to the line. He's going to cross that. He's punching the air for joy. A brilliant end to a brilliant day's ride.
The greatest victory in his career. There'll be no doubt about that as he kisses the crowd and salutes them. He can't even hold his body off the bike for the salute. He's so tired. Almost 8 hours. What a day. And listen to the crowd. Claudio Chiappucci is home. The clock starts. This is the man who will claim yellow. The average speed is fast for the mountains. 32.8 kilometers an hour. Almost 21 miles an hour with all those mountains. And Claudio Chiappucci comes up. Well, there's a rider in front of him there, but I must confess neither Paul nor I know who he is, but we think he might be in the Tour. But Indurain, I'm sorry if I said Chiappucci in the excitement there, but Indurain is coming up towards the line. The Italian flags are still flying. 41 seconds the gap and 400 yards to go. So, in fact, miraculously it seems, but Chiappucci has gained even time over these last 3 kilometres of the climb. And it's going to be more than a minute now, but there is no doubt that Miguel Indurain, and in fact this is Franco Bona who's come through. We have never been told of Franco Bona being ahead. We don't even know where he came past Miguel Indurain, but there he is ahead of the rise today. Well, that is absolutely amazing, but there has been no information on Bona. The last we saw of him, he was being dropped by Indurain. He must have come back. And Franco Bona will take second place today on the stage at 32.8 kilometres an hour for him. And Miguel Indurain, look at this time. He's slowed down dramatically over these last couple of kilometres as Bona takes second place.
Well, Indurain must have cracked somewhere down there with 2 or 3 kilometres to go, and Franco Bona, who he dropped, came back to him and left him behind, because as you can see, 1:45, he's lost 45 seconds on Claudio Chiappucci over the last 2 kilometres, which means to me that he really must have cracked. And now we look down to see Gianni Bugno coming up to the line. He's still trying to get up there. He's trying to limit his losses today, but he will definitely move away from Miguel Indurain on the leaderboard. But Indurain must have really suffered in the last few kilometres.
Well, we did say an ominous stage 13 earlier in the program, but never in our wildest dreams did we imagine it would turn out like this. The race turned on its end, and Claudio Chiappucci, in front of his own fans, finishing off in the most romantic tradition, a real triumphant winner. Let's take you through the stage winners, or the leaderboard at the end of the stage. Claudio Chiappucci coming in just ahead of his countryman Franco Bona, 1 minute 34 ahead of him, and the man who was trying to ride him down, Miguel Indurain, couldn't. He's 1 minute 45. He was 1 minute 45 behind him. Then came Gianni Bugno, 2 minutes 53. Andrew Hampsten had a great ride, 3 minutes 27. Laurent Fignon, another former champion, 5:51. And after all the others, Pascal Lenoir, the man with the yellow jersey, came in all of 10 minutes and 33 seconds behind Chiappucci. And this is how the Aussies finished on stage 13, Saint-Gervais to Sestriere, a most treacherous stage indeed. Overall then, Miguel Indurain has the yellow jersey. Claudio Chiappucci is second, 1:42. How different all that looks to this morning. Gianni Bugno is next, 4 minutes 20. Lenoir is now in fourth position, 7 minutes 21 away. Pedro Delgado, 8 minutes 47. Then Stephen Roach, then Laurent Fignon, all former winners. And Andrew Hampsten is the better of the two Americans now. He's in 8th position, 11 minutes 46 from the lead. Well, with me is Phil Liggett. Phil, a historic moment here. There have been a couple. Hannibal took his elephant through here, I believe, and there was Fausto Coppi who won here some years ago. But today was sensational.
I think Claudio Chiappucci rode like an elephant today. Nothing could stand in his way. He broke away, facing 200 kilometres in the lead, and he survived. That was an absolutely superb performance. That will go down in one of the great rides in the history of the Tour de France.
Okay, so was it good tactics, good riding, good tactics to get away the time that he did, but I think the mental toughness surely had something to do with this.
See, you never know with Claudio Chiappucci. He just goes. I don't know whether he was even thinking of a win, but he went and he won.
Yes, just a note on Greg LeMond. Is he definitely gone now?
LeMond isn't definitely gone. He's close to the elimination time. Certainly, I think he might retire anyway in the next few days. He's obviously quite ill.
Okay, Phil, just look ahead to tomorrow. We're going to L'Alpe d'Huez, another treacherous course. We got the big one with the 21 curves. Tell us about that.
It's a cruel climb. Every corner is numbered all the way to the top. It counts down to the summit. It'll be another big day, but how much energy has Chiappucci and Indurain used today? Will they live to fight another day like that tomorrow? I don't know.
Well, we can only hope for a day like this ever again in the Tour de France. Thanks very much, Bill, for today. Okay, just remember our competition does continue. There have been 2 winners already this week. You too can be a winner if you enter the competition and win some grand prizes. Stay with us now for some more details.
Get your entry form in Bicycling Australia, send the coupon to SBS, and you could win a Europa bicycle, cycling gear from Giro and Time, and a Sharp headphone stereo. And the major prize, a trip for 2 to France, flying Cathay Pacific. The draw will be made this Friday during the Tour de France.
And that's our Italian affair on the Tour de France, and now they're here in Sestriere, or as the Italians call it, Sestriere. We start here tomorrow on the last of the mountain stages, and then it's all downhill to Paris. But still looming large is by reputation the toughest climb on the whole tour, including those horrid 21 curves up the Col du Galibier. So join us tomorrow when we bring you our last expedition into the Alps on the 79th Tour de France. Until then, from Sestriere, buonanotte, good night.